Welcome to Sitefinity Forms Administration. I will be walking you through the details on the process of viewing and managing form responses. But the best suggestion I could make is to create some test responses, open them up, and take a look around, and you will find that the form is intuitive and easy to navigate. Access to Sitefinity must be requested by the site owner and granted by Sitefinity administrators. Once access is granted, a person tasked with managing forms will begin receiving an email-based notification anytime there's a submission to the form assigned to them. On the screen you will see an example of 3 different forms notifications. First, you'll see every form comes from noreply@utmb.edu, and they have the subject line of new UTMB entry submitted. Below the UTMB logo, you'll see the title New Entry 4, and next you will see the name of the form which the entry was submitted for. In this case, it's the appointment form. The one below it, you'll see this is the Ask a UTMB Nurse form. And then our third example here, you will see Psychiatry and Behavioral Health. Each of these notifications will have details on the date and time the form was submitted and a link directly to that specific response. You can get to that response by clicking on Click here to view form submission. At this time, if the user is not logged in, they will be prompted to do so. In the next section, we will learn how to log in. Whether you're coming from an email notification or logging directly into Sitefinity without a notification, the UTMB users-m username and password is used to log into Sitefinity. These are the same credentials used to access the UTMB network and applications such as UTMB email. To log in directly into Sitefinity without a notification, use www.utmb.edu/Sitefinity if the form is on a public website, or use intranet.utmb.edu/Sitefinity if the form is on an intranet website. There are 2 ways to access and manage responses. The first is to manage any and all responses from the Form Administrator and Entry screens. The second and simplest is by clicking on the link sent in the notification email to manage the individual response in the Entry Details screen. First, we will look at the Form Administrator and Form Entry screens. When users log into Sitefinity, they will begin at the dashboard where they can see some UTMB communications and their recent items. In the navigation across the top of the web page, only the options available to their specific role will be available. If the user has the correct permissions to manage form responses or entries, they will see Form Administrator when they click on Administration. All forms a specific user has access to will be listed here. For example, an Access Center agent might have appointment form and cancel reschedule appointment forms available to them. Users will see the form name and how many unread, open, and total responses have been submitted for the form. Users can also see a preview of the form by clicking View. When the name of this form is clicked, the user is sent to the Form Entry screen and will be able to see all entries submitted for that specific form. The Form Entry screen contains all responses specific to that form. In this example, we're looking at the appointment form. Now we will look at the options and features available for form entry management. The status of the entry is displayed in the first column. When an entry has not been viewed, it is in unread status. Once the entry is opened or viewed by anyone, the status changes to open. And after the user chooses to close and archive an entry, the status changes to closed. The next column informs the user when the form was submitted, and if the form is locked in red, which means being worked on at that moment, or in progress in green, which means it is still open and being worked on by someone, even if not right at that minute actively working on it. It also might mean that someone needs to follow up on it or it is being escalated. Next, you will see the form entry details. The last name, first name, and email are displayed by default if the form has those fields available. Users can also choose to view the log for each form entry. The log holds all activity for each entry, such as actions taken, comments, when the entry was opened and closed, and who initiated each change. The form entry screen also allows you to search and to filter the search. The search box allows the user to search by last name, first name, and email. Filtering is available several ways. On the right side of the screen, there is a drop-down box that allows the user to filter the following ways: by all entries, only active entries, only unread entries, opened, and closed and archived entries. Users can also filter their entries by clicking on the name of the columns. Clicking on the date and time the form was submitted will open that individual entry's details. Also, if you click on the email address, an email window will pop up and you will have the ability to respond to this request. Whether you log directly into Sitefinity or arrive to the form entry details via a notification email, this screen will look the same. When users click on a notification from an email, they will come directly to the form entry details. Once they are logged in, they should see the same time and date as the details in the email they received. You can verify this by comparing the date and timestamp in the upper left-hand corner of the screen to the message you received in your email. On the left side of the screen, you will see the response log area. As soon as an entry is opened by someone, it is automatically locked by that person. Any user in the previous screen we reviewed will see this form go into locked status immediately. The entry status is also automatically changed to open from unread. The user working on the entry should then click the gray Not in Progress button to change the status of the entry to In Progress. When this is done, the button will change from gray to green, and Not in Progress will change to In Progress. This is also displayed for all users to see. As the entry is worked, whether it's an appointment made, responding to an inquiry, etc., users can choose from several actions taken and/or add comments. Some of the options for actions taken are appointment booked, referred to department, or other. At this point, there are three options for the user. They can close and archive the entry, which means the entry could be completely worked and ready to be archived. If this is the case, simply add an action taken, add comments if needed, click the In Progress button to make it not in progress again, change the status from opened to close and archive, and hit the Update button. The entry will automatically go into the archive. The second option is Open and In Progress. If the response needs further attention to reach a resolution, leave the In Progress button green, select an action taken and/or add comments, then hit the Update button. This will leave the entry open in the form entry screen, but let other users know that someone specific is going to be following up with this entry. The third option is for the form to be open and not in progress. The response can be left in the open status and not in progress if needed. An example would be if someone tried to call a patient back and there was no response, but they will not be the only person attempting to call this patient back. Simply add an action taken and then add comments if needed. For example, attempted to contact patient. Click the In Progress button to make it be not in progress again, and hit the Update button. As soon as the Update button is selected, the form is no longer locked, all changes and notes are logged, and the status is updated. Entries are locked automatically when someone is actively working on the response entry. The lock status is in place as an at-a-glance communication to other users that there is someone working on the entry at that time. If an entry is accidentally left locked by one user, it can be easily unlocked by another by clicking on the entry. The next screen will allow the user to unlock the entry and go back to all entries, to cancel and not make any changes, or to continue to the content of that specific entry. One thing to note is, to avoid leaving the entry in lock status, avoid hitting the back button in the browser, clicking on Back to Form Entries, and clicking on either of the three buttons for Form Builder, Form Administrator, and Entries. These will leave the form locked assuming you did not mean to leave the entry. Always select Update.